Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Hey, JC here. Welcome to another episode of Airgun Detectives. Today, we're going to take the mystery out of how to mount and sight in your optics. Yeah, there's been a few of you guys have sent me some messages wanting to know some guidelines and basically how you sight in a scope. So we're going to cover that today. I could actually do a video probably for 2 hours on this subject matter. So I'm going to do the very basics and we're just going to kind of compress this the best we can. Before we get started here though, do me a favor as usual. Please hit that little subscribe button down there in the corner. If you'd like to be notified when we come out with new videos, just hit that little bell. In addition to that, appreciate your comments, your feedbacks. Keep it coming. It keeps me motivated. I really appreciate the thumbs up. All right, so let's get down to the business on hand. Yeah, this is a new t-shirt. It's actually one of my new logos. Not bad. They'll be available on my website for you if you're interested in one. Anyway, I do have to say, I think it is a good-looking t-shirt if I do say so myself. Okay, so I am a little biased. All right. First of all, I want to thank Pinty. They provided some optics for us today, what we're going to use. Let me show you. Pinty has came a long way. I've used their products for quite a few years, actually. And they're a pretty small company, but they're really stepping up their game. I mean, pretty amazing. Their optics are crystal clear, and you're not going to believe the value that you get out of this. Let me show you this scope. Okay, this is a 3x9x40. This comes with some Picatinny scope mounts. These are the double screwed ones. They're nice and heavy duty. But let me show you this scope. It's packed quite well here. So here's our scope. Pull out the scope cap. That right there is a scope shade, and that'll actually go on the front here. So anyway, here's our scope from Pitney. It's a 3x9x40, and I have to say they have really stepped up the optics. So this is going to be one that we're going to talk about today. In addition to that, we got some red dots. Let me show you that. Okay, this is their more basic red dot. This one here is red and green, and it's designed for these type of rifles. Not a heavy recoil, but a great sight picture. This comes with a couple different mounts as far as height goes, but you're not going to believe it. This is around 30 bucks for this, and it's just amazing. And you know, I wouldn't bring you guys products if I didn't actually truly believe in them. The products that I bring to you is what I really believe in. So then if you want to step up your game, you've got this red dot right here. And this one is pretty amazing. This is very heavy duty. It's just a red dot, but it comes with the different mounts here, so you can do different height on it. I'll be honest with you, I've been using this for about the last month and a half on a heavy recoil brake barrel, and it has not lost one bit of as far as the stability, as far as the point of aim. I am hitting everything completely accurate with this. So this thing can hold up to the heaviest recoils. That means you could use this on basically any rimfire, center fire, any brake barrel, heavy recoil brake barrel. This is going to work. And now the best part, this thing is under 50 bucks. It's amazing. It really is. Comes in this neat little case. Comes with, like I said, the different size mount. So if you want to set this up and then shoot your open sights through it, you can. It's pretty awesome. But we're going to show you how to mount that up. The very first thing we need to do is we need to go over the nomenclature of the scope, so you guys know what we're talking about. That's going to be our basic step. So first of all, what we have here is we have the scope body, and I'm going to show this to you all at the same time. So you got a scope body right here. You got lens caps. These have really nice lens caps. They pop up better than the ones with the elastic that wears out. You guys know what I'm talking about, and they hold the end of it. Okay, we have our objective lens. That would be this lens right here. That's your objective lens. And then this one is an adjustable objective. Let me pull this cap off and show you the difference. This is an adjustable objective. So this, you can focus it in depending on how far you are. And I would highly recommend the adjustable objective, especially when you're airgun shooting, when you're up closer. Okay, in addition to that, this is what we light your reticle. This actual one has a mil dot reticle, and it lights up in red, green, or blue, any of those colors. So that's this adjustment here. Now we have our elevation turret. That's how you adjust for elevation, which is right here on top. Then in addition to that, on this side, on the right side, we have our windage turret. That's going to be our right to left for adjusting it. We also have our magnification adjustment, which is right here, and this one goes from 3 power all the way up to 9 power. So this is a 3 to 9. When you see that 3 to 9, that tells you your power on your scope. In addition to that, this is your ocular housing right here. And obviously what goes with the ocular housing is the ocular lens. That's the lens in the back. That's what you actually look through in the back. And in addition to that, we've got our ocular adjustment. And this one, if you can see here, very simple. You just adjust this, and this is what's going to make your reticle nice and clear. Then you adjust the objective up here to clear up the focus as far as your target at your various distances. So anyway, not a bad setup for this scope at all. And not to mention, this thing retails for around $40. Unheard of. It really has. And I said they've stepped up their game. The lenses on these things are amazing right now. But with that, this scope is not suitable for a break barrel rifle. Okay? The break barrel rifles, as we discussed, they basically have a double recoil, or you can call it a reverse recoil. In a break barrel rifle, the piston goes forward, so you get a motion that's going forward away from you. The piston actually goes into the chamber and dead ends, so you get this recoil going forward, and then it bounces and comes back, so you get a double recoil. These type of scopes are not designed for that. But I do have a little bit of a secret. I've been working with Pintney, and next year we're going to be coming out with something. I should say they're coming out. I'm just giving them some advice on this, okay? But I've been working with them on coming up with the perfect break barrel scope. And what I was telling them, what the market needs and what we need is an affordable, durable scope that's going to handle the heaviest recoils and last. And so they're working on that project right now. We're hoping that'll be out sometime next year. So must-have features on these scopes, keep in mind, in my opinion, you either need a side focus, which let me show you what that is. You need a side focus, which this is how you would focus. Rather than having an adjustable objective, you can actually do a side focus, and you focus this on the side, which I like because it's easier to work, especially when you're looking down through the scope. It's easy to adjust. Or the adjustable objective, which is this. So those are must. I also, you got to have some power. You don't. The 3x9 is just fine for these. 40 millimeter to 50 millimeter are fine. I kind of like the 40s. I think they're just perfect. Whether you want a lit reticle or not, that's entirely up to you. It's not a must-have for me. But I do like, especially with the air guns, I really like the mil dot reticle. And this is what a mil dot looks like. And what you'll see is you'll see a lot of either mil dot, and then you'll have 50-50s or your standard crosshairs, and that's what those look like. So we have this great scope. Now the big question is, now we have to mount it. But what are we going to mount it with? Let's try this. Whoa, now this is confusing. Look at this. Oh my God. To even think about. Look at all these options. I've got short ones. We've got medium ones. We've got double screws. We've got single screws. We've got single mounts. We've got quick release mounts. We've got more quick release mounts. Look at this. We've got, this is, I mean seriously, we got Weaver, we got Picatinny, we've got 11 millimeter dovetail. This is unbelievable. We got to simplify this. Let's simplify this. You know what I love? Video editing. Watch this. All right, this is much better. Simplify this process a little bit. Okay, so we basically have two basic mounting styles. We've got the Picatinny, which take a look at the rifle up here. There's a Picatinny, that's their standard Picatinny rail on there. And then what we have is our 11 millimeter dovetail. Take a look at that. So those obviously are going to take different mounts. So the Picatinny's, we have our choices here. Take a look at these. These are some quick release ones, right? But if you'll notice, the Picatinny ones are a little wider, and you can see the screw slightly protrudes across the bottom. That holds it between the bars on the Picatinny rail. So these are your standard 1 inch. Okay. We also have the 30 millimeters. So if you have a larger diameter scope, the scope body is rather 30 millimeter rather than 1 inch, those will work just fine. You also can use the 30 millimeters, and then you have these inserts inside, which you can use on a 1 inch scope tube. So these will work on either. And then believe it or not, they do make a one-piece Picatinny mount. I really don't know why you would ever need this, but they do make a one-piece Picatinny mount. So that would be your mount there. Then we have our dovetail, or your 11 millimeter mounts. And you got a variety of these. See, you've got one-piece mounts here. And what's really essential when you're using mounts on the 11 millimeter dovetail is you use the stop pin. See the stop pin? That's going to hold your mount in place for the recoil, especially the heavy recoil ones. But even ones that don't have too heavy of a recoil, they do have a tendency to slide a little bit. Even though you might clamp these screws down, they still have a tendency to slide. So make sure you use your stop pin. But you have a lower mount, one piece, still with a stop pin. And then you have all kinds of varieties of the 11 millimeter dovetail. But notice stop pin once again, which are essential. And then if you want to get fancy and you say, you know, I would really like to have a Picatinny style on mine, they actually make adapters that go from the 11 millimeter dovetail to the Picatinny. And then once you do that, then you can actually put a regular Picatinny on top of that. So there's so many options out there. There really is. So why don't we show you how to go ahead and mount this on the gun, and then we'll move on from there. All right, let's show you how to mount this up. We're going to go ahead and mount our Pinty, our 3x9x40. And this particular gun, thanks to Mike Millick, this is one of the 705 Centuries. In fact, this is a 25 caliber I still need to review. We're going to get to that one. But let's go ahead and mount this up. On this particular gun, as I was chatting with you before about stop pins, you're not going to need a stop pin on a PCP rifle because there's absolutely no recoil. There's no point. Don't even worry about it. So what you want to do then is you want to make sure that stop pin, if it's got one, either completely remove it or just back it off. All right, and the first thing I want to do is I want to get these up on the rail here, and I want to just hand tighten them so I can adjust it forward or backward. So I just keep that just hand tight. Do the same with the front one. And so you can't use a one-piece rail on this because of the magazine on this gun. So I want these kind of in the middle because it's going to support the scope right here in the middle. So we get that set. And these are standard 1 inch. And then we mount our scope on there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the top portion on just a little bit. And you don't want to just tighten one of these screws at a time. You just kind of want to get them in there a little bit. And by the way, these are really handy, these type of Allen wrenches. This, you could be there all day. It comes with this type of Allen wrench. Look at that. You could be there all day. I prefer these with a handle because you can spin them. And you'll see, it actually, it speeds up your job in mounting these things. A little less frustration. So we just put a couple of screws in like this. Just to get it close. All right. And this one. Let's fast forward through this one. All right, now we still have room where we can move this scope forward or back, wherever we want to do. Now, we're obviously going to make sure that the crosshairs are lined up straight so that the scope is straight. But let's, what we kind of want to do while it's loose is you want to set it up for your eye relief. In other words, the distance from where your cheek rests on this gun, right, until where this is lined up. So you can move this, because you want it to be comfortable, so every time that you're resting your cheek on this rifle, you're pretty much in the same spot. So, and then I'm go ahead and I'm adjusting it right to left. So if that looks good, what you want to do is snug up your little mounting rings here at the bottom first. So now you got a solid foundation. Don't over tighten them, but you do want them to go snug. You can kind of hear them when they get to the bottom. They make kind of a little stressful squeak, and then you know you're in a good spot. Okay, so those are snug. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure that your crosshairs are nice and straight with the gun. So our eye relief is set. Eye relief is the distance between the lens here and your eyeball. A lot of that's set up for more high power rifles where you have a recoil, so it gives that distance between your eyes so you're not getting a black eye every time you fire a gun. That would not be a good thing. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to snug up these rings, and you want to go a little pressure at a time, and you want to keep these rings even. So don't just tighten up one side at a time. You want to keep it nice and even as this goes down, because you want it to squeeze on the tube housing of the actual scope here, nice and even. So you want the gap here and here on both sides about the same. So just snug that up. Yep, it's really that simple. There you go. We'll fast forward through this because it's just tightening screws. All right, our scope is now mounted. Now I guess the next step is we're going to have to talk about the adjustments. So let's make some adjustments and sight this in. Okay, we're going to make some adjustments on our Pinty scope here. But we're actually, I want to thank Splatterburst real quick because we're going to actually use their targets again. And they really make it nice and visible so we can actually see where each round hits. So I'll leave a link below if you guys are interested in these, but they're really great targets. All right, with that, the first thing we're going to want to do here is, as I just touched on this just a minute ago, as far as the distance of the scope to your eye. So this one is just set up perfect for me. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is make the ocular adjustment here, back here on the mil dots, because we want the mil dots, as I said, this is a mil dot crosshairs. We want these crystal clear. The best way you can really do this is if you put this on the low setting and you aim it like at a white wall, it only has to be a few feet away, it doesn't matter. I've done this thousands of times literally, so I can do it pretty much anywhere. But you want to look through this lens and you want to focus those crosshairs so they are absolutely crystal clear. So if you have a mil dot, you want to see each one of those dots just perfectly. You don't want any distortion. So that's what this eyepiece does. So you need to adjust that. A lot of people make the mistake and they don't adjust that. That's the first thing you want to do. Make sure that's adjusted properly. Don't worry about what the picture in the background, if the target's blurry at this time. We just want that eyepiece nice and clear. Okay? Then, once that's set up, so we got our eyes, we got the scope set up so that every time that we rest our cheek on this stock, we're lined up. Now keep in mind, if you're off, if your eye is too close, you're not going to get a full scope picture. If your eye is too far away, you're not going to get a full picture. So you want your eye moved up onto the scope just so you get the full circle. No more, no less, but you just want that full circle. So then you know you're in the right spot. Okay, so our first shot, what we're going to do is we're just going to go up to 10 yards, but you want this set up at the lowest power setting, because we're just going to take one shot on paper. So let's move up. We're going to take that shot on paper, and then we're going to make the rest of our adjustments. Okay, so when we're sighting in our scope, what you want to do is you want to move close enough up to the target. So we're only about 30 feet here. You want to move close enough to the target where you actually put the pellet on paper. Because if not, who knows? You don't want to shoot the neighbor's cat by mistake. You want to make sure you get on paper. So we're just going to take our first shot. Again, the settings, I have the settings on the lowest settings because I want a full sight picture. And then I'm just going to aim in the center of that target and we'll see where it hits. So let's see what happens. All right. Safety. That safety off. All right. Wow. For a first shot with an unadjusted scope, that's not bad. Leave it for Pinty. Pinty took care of this one, that's for sure. But yeah, so the idea is you have plenty of room there for that pellet so you know where it's hitting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're actually going to make a couple little adjustments here. Because we now know that the target, or where our point of impact was, it was high and to the right. So what we're going to want to do is make some adjustments according to that. So our first adjustment, you have to remember, where that pellet impacted is high and to the right. So we're going to want to adjust the scope in regards to the point of impact. So we're going to want to turn our turret here, we're going to turn it right 2 clicks. Now clicks, that's the settings on the turret. So normally the average scope, 1 click is about 1/4 of an inch at 100 yards. Where we're zeroing in here, we're at 20 yards. I like to shoot at 20 yards. It's my comfortable spot. You might want to shoot at 25 yards. So obviously the click is going to have a different effect. So we're just going to do a couple clicks to move this to the left. So we're going to turn this to a right. Imagine a turret's like a screw. So if you're screwing the screw inward, it's actually going to go to the right. It's going to go in. And that's what's going to happen is we're going to push our point of aim to the left. I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of it because it's actually opposite, but I don't want to confuse you guys. So again, we're shooting high, so we're going to want to go down on our elevation turret. So we're going to turn it to the right. Pretend it's a screw. You screw a screw in clockwise, it goes down. You unscrew it, it comes up. It's the same thing. So we're going on point of impact. So we need to go to the right. I'm going to just move it a couple of clicks, and we're going to go down a couple of clicks. Okay, so let's see how this works out now. Let's take another shot and see if we have an improvement. Now, what you want to do too is now that you're back at this distance, we can set our adjustable objective so we have a nice clear sight picture. And again, I would like to power this up. This one is a 3x9, so I like to power it up closer to the target. So now everything should be perfectly focused. You should be looking at a nice crystal clear reticle. In addition to that, your sight picture, you adjust this adjustable objective to make that sight picture crystal clear. Then we're going to go ahead and fire another round and see how much closer we are if where we moved. Oh, definitely got closer. Now, there's some things that we call the reticle settling. What can happen is these are spring loaded. So the reticle in there, as far as the adjustment, even though you click it a couple turns, it might take a couple shots for it to level out as far as settle in. And we call that a reticle settling. They used to just tap on these after you make the adjustment. That's old school. The newer scopes are a little different. You can still do it. It doesn't hurt anything. But if there is any hesitation in that adjustment, it will help it. Okay, so we got much closer. So I'm going to go down on this one. I'm going to go down a click down, and now I'm going to go, because I want this thing to go to the left a little more, so I'm going to go in a click, and let's see where this is at. Okay. Now, and the whole time we're aiming dead center, because that's what we want. Ultimately, we want a dead center. Wow. You know, honestly, that's probably close enough. Let's take one more shot at that and see where we land. Yep, I would say that's dead center. So we're there. So now what we want to do, now we found our spot for our scope, we want to lock our turrets down. And the way you do this one is you just hand tighten these little rings just till they're snug. And now these are locked in place where they're not going to move or bump on you. So now what we are is we are zeroed in at 20 yards. So now with the mil dots, if we happen to go out and want to shoot a farther distance and our point of aim is a little different. Usually your right to left is never really going to change much, but your elevation is what changes a lot. So you can use different mil dots as far as distance goes. But anyway, so that's your basic settings to have this scope set up. So let's stay tuned for the next segment, and I'm going to show you how to adjust a red dot. All right, let's show you how to mount a red dot. You know, if you ever wondered what a red dot is, basically there's no magnification on these at all. But what it is, it's parallax free. Okay, so in other words, you don't have to line your cheek perfectly up, and the red dot does not have to be centered in the middle of the little scope in order to hit your target. Wherever that red dot, even if you're off to the side a little bit, whatever that red dot is pointing at, that's where your projectile is going to go. So the good thing about that is you could shoot this with both eyes open if you wanted, and you can shoot up close range, which is really nice. So where the dot is where the bullet goes. So let's show you how to mount these. It's a very, very simple process. You just want to put it on a spot that's comfortable for you. Now, some rifles, I even have on my real AR, I have it set up where it's elevated like this, so I can flip up. I have pop-up manual sights, and I can pop up the sights and actually aim through the red dot when it's turned off, because it's just clear glass. And like I said, it's not magnified, so you can actually use your manual sights. But basically, you just want to find a spot that's comfortable for you. These come stock with a Picatinny mount. You can change the level. You can either have this mounted up high like this, okay, or you can use the lower mount here. You have a little bit lower mount here, and you can lower the red dot actually down if you like, whatever's comfortable for you, because you're just going to look through this lens. Like I said, it's a clear lens. This particular one here, this is a dual color one. This is actually has a red or green dot you can pick, and it has 7 brightness levels. A lot of options the way you set this up. This particular one is only around 30 bucks. So they say it can stand a recoil. I wouldn't go with this one for a heavy recoil gun, because what they do have is the Pitney Pro, and that would be this one here. This one here, right here, their Pitney Pro, and it is heavy duty. Okay, I've been shooting this on heavy recoil brake barrel, and it's holding zero. I've had no issues. And this comes with options, so you can do the the peep through sights on this one as well, so you can change the height of this one, and it all comes with that, and it comes in this great little case too. And the price on this one, it's like right at 50 bucks. You just can't beat it. As durable it is, it works really, really great. All right, so let's move on to the next segment, and I'm going to show you how to sight this in. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do a little red dot adjustment. Okay, this is our Hiram. This is the lower cost one. It has both the red and the green dots on it. And the whole idea on red dot, it's opposite the scope. Remember on the scope, you would see the pellet hole, and then from the pellet hole, we would make our adjustments. So if the pellet hole was up and to the right, we would go left and down. This is the opposite. On a red dot, you're going to line up the sight with wherever the hole is. So once we shoot a hole in the target, then we're going to move the dot up and over or down or wherever we need to go to line up with the point of impact. So we're actually going to move the dot to the location of the point of impact. And it works the same way. There's an elevation on this side, and then you have your windage that you can make your adjustments, which is your right and left. So one other thing I wanted to say, this is not a bad red dot for a BB gun, what have you, something that doesn't have to be as precise. But for the extra 20 bucks, the Pitney Pro is absolutely amazing. It is, that dot is so sharp and crystal clear. And I explained to you guys before, when I was shooting that and testing it, I was shooting the other one, the Pitney Pro, on a heavy recoil brake barrel, and that thing is holding point of aim. It hasn't lost one position as far as when I sighted it in. But anyway, so let's move up forward and to the closer range, because these BB guns are designed for about 30 feet or so. And let me show you how to sight this in. Okay, now we're going to sight in our red dot here, and this one actually takes a little screwdriver to make our adjustments for our elevation and then our windage. So again, this is a BB rifle. So we're just going to go, it's actually a pretty accurate BB rifle, but we're going to start off just taking a couple of shots, and we'll see where we're at. Okay. Hopefully we'll hit the target. Whoa, this thing is pretty accurate. Okay, so as you saw, we're shooting right now, because I was aiming at point of center. So we're shooting to the right and we're shooting low. So what we want to do is we want to move our red dot, we want to move the red dot down and to the right. So this is the opposite of the scope. So the dot needs to follow the point of aim.
So let's make the adjustments here. So let's just try a couple clicks this way, a couple clicks this way. All right. We'll see where we hit now. Whoa, definitely getting closer. So I went a little bit high on that one. So let's adjust this. I think I can get this thing centered in now. Okay, let me do the other one. And these settle too a little bit, believe it or not. All right, let's see how well we do this time. All right, and there is user error here. I'll take that. For a BB rifle, I'll take that every time. So it looks like we're pretty much right on. All right, let's move on to the next segment.
All right, as you guys can see, there's a lot that goes into sighting in a scope. It can be, especially if you want to get very, very technical on it. You see some of these articles, they'll do pages on sighting in a scope. And like I said, I could have gone on for a couple of hours and went over more of the details of this stuff. But we want to try to keep this simple because it should not be that involved. It could not be that strenuous. So let me tell you something. I have about 300 air guns and I probably have about 200 scopes, and I've had to sight in every one of those rifles multiple times from changing them. So I'm really used to this process. So if you follow these simple steps, it's very basic, but you'll be able to dial your scope right in. You'll be able to set it at 0, and that shouldn't be a problem at all. But anyway, the key is here, you got to choose the right scope for the right gun. Obviously, you don't want to put a scope design for a CO2 rifle or a PCP that's not a specific airgun rated scope on a break barrel, because you'll destroy it. I don't care what you pay for that scope, you will destroy it eventually on a break barrel. The airgun scopes are specific, and that's kind of why I'm excited that I'm working with Pitney about putting together maybe the perfect break barrel type scope, because I think that's what this industry really needs. But we need one that's affordable and not ridiculously expensive. So I'm kind of excited, hoping that's going to be coming out next year. Just remember, guys, I don't bring you a product unless I really believe in it, okay? I've been dealing with Pitney here, and I've noticed how much greatly their scopes have improved. And really, their lenses, if you shot Pitney a few years ago and you saw them now, night and day. It's amazing what they're coming up with. So as a favor of me working with Pitney, they provided me with a discount code for my viewers, okay? And once again, it's Airgun. So if you go to the link, and I'll leave the link down in the comments, if you go to that link and you go to the Pitney website and you type in Airgun, you're going to get a significant discount. And that's just for my viewers, which is awesome. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, hope it wasn't too complicated for you. I hope you learned something. I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Appreciate your comments. If you hadn't, make sure, again, you please subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out a lot. So with that, don't forget, this is where we take the mystery out of the air gun. Until next week, take care.